Am I live? I think I'm live. I hope I am. Because it's the end of the world as we know. Hold on, let me get this into it. Let me get this. I'm a little nervous. Let me get this right here. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the world as we know it. I feel dizzy. Ugh, damn, no, that joke did not go the way I had it planned. Ugh, plus it was all out of tune. But I can sing. Look, I can do this. I can do this into. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. Fuck that shit. Okay, it's bad enough this video is not going to get monetized. The hell with it. Welcome to the Nachi Free Wednesday night live stream. And let me see if I've got anybody already tuning in over here to my channel that is being demonetized as we speak. Let me come over here, see if anybody is watching. I don't think. Why am I not seeing my live stream? Hardly anybody's watching this, and it's probably being buried in some fucking algorithm. Because I already saw that. I've got this little thing here on my. If you've earned less from ads recently, it may be because some of your videos have been identified as not suitable for all advertisers. And that's fine, I guess, because advertisers are not always interested in the truth. And I should know because I've worked for the advertising industry for many years. And so that's why it's like a double-edged sword. You know, you have to take the good with the bad. And that's the thing, like the advertising industry has put food on my table, a roof over my head. And hell, I could even say this Chinese hat, which I was wearing in honor of this whole thing that's going on with North Korea and the whole threat. Which, by the way, for anybody who thinks this is racist, oh, please. You want to know what's really racist? If I did this. If I did this in my eyes, and I said, nigger, tranny, faggot, cunt. That would be racist, I guess, or be seen as racist and homophobic and sexist. But for anyone out there who believes that I should lose my job, or I should be sued, or I should be completely ostracized from society and forever made to walk on politically correct eggshells, you are exhibiting the same authoritarian tendencies as the North Korean authoritarian murderous regime. I want to just prove that point. And everything I had prepared is just I'm going to shit. But the point is that yeah, it's amazing how people don't realize the authoritarian streak that is taking over this country, that we're sort of half battling now against North Korea. And the main point that I really wanted to make is how frightening it is that such large swaths of the human species fall prey to authoritarian tendencies. From the left and from the right, and they're so extreme that they kind of come around back at the same point. And we're seeing it, well, now with YouTube. And well, this guy from Google who sent out the anti-diversity memo, and he got fired for that. How do more people not see that this is a problem? And the other point that I really wanted to make about authoritarian tendencies and streaks, or just authoritarian tendencies, I'm not trying to get too fancy with my words, is that it takes a small group of people. That's it. It's a small group of people that manage to control so many others, so many millions, if not billions of people. And it doesn't help when you have all these celebrities that they do this. They basically they lick their finger. They want to see where the wind of political approval is fucking blowing, so they don't lose their advertising dollars. And it doesn't matter how wrong they may the fucking political trend may be. They'll just go with it. And look, I know I'm not saying anything new, but more people need to be able to say this before we turn into North Korea. Unless we're going to end up having World War III and the fuck with humanity, I guess. And by the way, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to have World War III. I don't think it's going to come down to that. Though Donald Trump is not helping matters with the fucking talk of fire and fury. And with the little bit that I've been able to keep up on the news with this shit about North Korea, it's just so, it's the 21st fucking century. I mean, why isn't humanity already, I don't want to say perfect, but why do we have to deal with so many assholes on this fucking planet? And I guess it's just a long, hard slog, you know, that it takes a while. I mean, think of all the people who have been murdered throughout millennia over authoritarian tendencies, and the people who push these agendas, and then the masses of people who follow, and then the tiny minority of people that I like to consider myself on that end of the human bell curve, because you know the way a bell curve works. You know, the average is somewhere in the middle, which is the bell, and at the two ends you get the extremes. And North Korea is definitely on the extreme of authoritarianism. But this isn't even left or right. This is just authoritarianism and freedom. Okay? And on this end, where you have fucking Kim Jong-un and how he keeps his people fucking in line. And then here in the United States, not too far from that, we're starting to get that. And you're seeing it now with fucking YouTube, and I guess with certain advertisers. Even though I think with the advertisers, it's not a matter of authoritarianism. It's just a matter of ka-ching, ka-ching. They want to make sure they don't lose revenue. And I understand that. I've been employed by the advertising industry. And then you have the masses of people in that bell curve. They don't give a fuck. It really does seem like the masses of people they don't care. Whichever way, fucking okay, whoever, dude, as long as I got fucking food on my table and a fucking roof over my head, whoever's in fucking charge, so be it. I don't want to talk politics. I don't want to talk religion. Yeah, forget about the fucking things that affect our lives immeasurably. End of that bell curve, you have the people. And look, I'm not trying to fucking brag or whatever, but you have the people who really do care about freedom and truth. And I like to count myself on that end. And I wish I could bring more people. I wish I could bring at least that fucking whole bell over with me. Speaking of bells, shit, I was going to get a cowbell too. So when I start inviting people on, so people don't get too sidetracked and stuff over these things. And by the way, speaking of Korea, this is all over the place as usual because I'm fucking still trying to learn how to do these live streams. This little bracelet right here, do you see those little skulls? Are they showing pretty well? Well, anyway, my wife brought this from me from South Korea. She was just there. And while she was over there, she actually saw some of the, I'm assuming the American fighter planes flying over, you know, after the last intercontinental ballistic missile fucking testing firing from this piece of shit, Kim Jong-un. And she actually saw those flying over there. And good thing she didn't, you know, she's fine. She's back home and everything's good. But yeah, she actually got to live through that and see that. And again, it's just crazy how many people, just to avoid, I don't know, uncomfortable situations, they don't want to talk about these things. You know, oh my God, I don't want to talk about it. And yet these fuckers, the Kim Jong-uns and the fucking regressive lefts, the regressive lefties in this country, that are trying to shut down speech, they are having their fucking say. And that's the sad thing, how, I guess it's true as the old saying goes, history belongs to those who show up. And these are the assholes who are showing up first in fucking line. I'm not gonna get too loud. I'm sorry. Let me see if anybody's watching. Let me see if I can even get a hold of this shit. Why am I not seeing my little live? Oh, here we go. There's the little live for now thing. 7 people watched it. And let me see. Here, see who's there. All right, cool, man. Regulars, all right, cool, man. There it is. I've got somebody who I hope comes in. There's a certain someone, I don't want to give this person away because he's probably got a job he doesn't want to lose. But I'm going to put out the invitation for anyone who wants to speak truth with me. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put this into the little side chat. And have at it, whoever wants to jump in. And anyway, I wanted to get back, actually, I wanted to talk about healthcare, and this particular person, I would love for this person to jump in and talk healthcare with me. But again, I don't want anyone to risk their jobs. Okay, that's fine. It's okay with me. I'm bouncing right now from fucking job to job. I don't give a fuck. Okay, and it's not because the truth matters that much to me. No, fucking a livelihood does matter to me. What up, Ernest?
Not much. I think you were referring to me and my job, I imagine.
No, there's someone else. That's all I'm going to say is someone else. That's it. That's I will hope with. How you been, man?
Not bad, bro. Not bad. Just preparing for upcoming elections, and I just couldn't say no to this one. This Kim. I love Kim Jong-un and his zany antics. So much that I wish we could send over a nice little bomb and wipe his ass off the face of the earth.
No, and it's funny. I was talking about that today with someone, and of course, it's real easy for me to say this. I would almost, not even, okay, let me just say, I would almost volunteer to go to North Korea if it were like a truly liberating mission to liberate the North Korean people. But of course, it will end up being a clusterfuck. I mean, and
guaranteed, we don't.
Huh?
Sorry. I was just going to say we don't usually have the best track record in Korea. Well, the Americans don't. Canadians are still pretty good.
Well, I thought from the little understanding I have of the Korean War, at the very least, South Korea is free and prosperous. And it's amazing how South Koreans really, according to my wife who was just there, like they really embrace American culture, so much so that supposedly there's a trend going on now of plastic surgery where people really will go as far as having bones scraped down so they can get the high cheekbones. And, you know, when I did this thing, fuck, anyone who can't tell that that's a goddamn joke, you need that bug pulled out of your ass. And I
watch
really
it, Nachi. Google's gonna get you for that. They're gonna send the diversity Stasi after you.
Well, here's the thing. That little joke, part of the reason why I made that is because she told me that some South Koreans are actually taking it as far as having their eyes, you know, surgical procedures to have their eyes look a little more rounded out. Amazing.
I believe that. That's kind of messed up, but you know, that's the way the culture goes. In Japan, they have like this, I think they call it Yankee culture, where the girls get like these really ridiculous tans and dye their hair blonde. I think it's Yankee. I might be a little bit wrong on that, but I mean, they generally like, they get like this, it's mostly like these like hooligan kind of people. They'll get like the tans and dye their hair blonde because they think it's rebellious.
Right. Damn, I didn't know about that trend. But to me, what that speaks of, again, when I was talking about the bell curve, I don't know if you caught that part of the
yeah,
thing,
I did, yeah.
About it's scary. It's not only sad, I think it's scary how so many people just are almost incapable of independent thought. They're incapable of just thinking for themselves, and they just follow the fucking trend, no matter what the trend is, no matter how painful that fucking trend may be. And well, North Korea, I think, is the extreme example of that. And I'd really like, I don't know, I'm very curious to see how this is going to play out now with Donald Trump. Because I don't think Donald Trump's doing this country or the world any favors with the way he's approaching it.
But Nachi, the way I see it, and I'm not that much of a war hawk, but
neither am I.
North Korea is not the kind of country that you can just negotiate with. They have no interest in negotiating. They just really like to shoot missiles at things. Or toasters or whatever it is they can get into the atmosphere. I always thought it was toasters, but man, they really ramped it up a bit in the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
But I mean, there has to be something done, and at the end of the day, it may have to be military action. We cannot ignore that this guy is obviously insane, and every generation of the Kim dynasty has gotten a bit more weird. I mean, first Kim Il Sung came out with he was a nut job as well, but he wasn't as bad as his son. And then Kim Jong Il came along and put up with this juche, this independent. You can do it on your own ideology, which starved the country to ruins. And then you've got Kim Jong Un, who just really likes his missiles. I don't know if that's a Freudian thing. He wants to make the biggest missile he can, to compensate for something. But that's just him.
Eric, what's up, man? Thanks for joining.
How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good, man.
Hello, hello.
Oh, if you could just mute, if you could mute the if you're watching it separately, if you could just mute it. And no, one thing I definitely would love to see if I could even get my wording right or articulate this is when you were mentioning right now about there's no negotiating with Kim Jong-un. And I know I'm always bringing in Cuba and shit, but in this case, I think it is pretty relevant. The 1992 missile crisis. I think it's imperative for people to understand that these dictators, you will never, ever negotiate with them. They're psychopaths. And I think that's the critical thing that I wish more people understood. And I guess it's just, that's the price of evolution of mankind. It just takes a long time,
Hey, before we go any further, I just wanted to say, ask you how your job was going.
Yeah, definitely, me too.
Oh no, it's a temp to perm job. So
okay.
So number one, that's why in a way I'm not too afraid. I mean,
okay, gotcha. Well, I just want to congratulate you anyway, and
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks.
Well, okay, as far as North Korea is concerned, I mean, we're talking about an isolationist that we haven't seen yet on the globe. They're educated in country. They don't travel. They're trapped in this border, in this culture and in this ideology that they themselves have built. Like in terms of Kim Jong-un, which I think is the anime Porky Pig, he's kind of like the voice of his own god. What he says goes. He's like the grand puppeteer, the grand puppet master of his country. And I don't think these people can be negotiated with. I really don't.
Oh no, for sure. That's the sad, and I keep saying sad and scary because I do think it is those two major emotions, at least for me, to see this. And I've been, from the little bit of research I've been doing, actually there's a really great talk by Sam Harris on his podcast where he had this one journalist that is specialized and has traveled to North Korea and has written about it for years. And even that guy who cannot stand Donald Trump, who is obviously, nobody wants war. Like, most people are realizing, dude, there's really almost no getting around this because you're just not. And then the one thing he did mention, though, is that it will be a fucking, for lack of a better word, a clusterfuck that's going to make Iraq look like a fucking walking.
You're also talking about between 29 and 40 million people in North Korea. And there's no accurate census, but they're the best guesstimate. The worst case scenario, 40 million people. Best case scenario, 29 million people.
Right, and how many of them, because one of the things that the guy was pointing out is how many of them are so brainwashed, are so indoctrinated, that they will then, in their minds, they will be like, oh my God, it is true, everything that we've been taught, in which there are grains of truth, unfortunately. I mean, let's face it, I mean, the United States government has not been, it's not the fucking equivalent of Mother Teresa. I mean, even Mother Teresa is a fucking cunt.
We have gotten better. I'm just saying.
No, for sure. And these are look, I hate the word nuance, but these are the nuances I wish more people understood, the good and the bad, the things that you have to fucking take, with all these things. And I know, I know that this country is great because of the fact that despite all the bullshit that's going on with YouTube and Google, hey, I'm still fucking doing a live stream right now. And there's no fucking knock on my door from the FBI or the CIA, even though I did see that now that the FBI is fucking raiding Paul Manafort's fucking house. But I think, I don't know to what, I haven't even read that, I just saw the headline. But at the same time, the point I'm trying to make is we don't have that Stasi-like atmosphere in this country. We could actually speak about these things.
Oh, I saw the best cartoon that I've seen. He's one of the conservative cartoonists, illustrators. He did Joseph Goebbels' tombstone in the Google logo. It was so funny.
I gotta check that out, man. If you can post it into the little comments or whatever, I'd like to see it. Let me see. Wait, let me actually find it really quick. What was describe that again right now? The Joseph Goebbels Google.
Yeah, I see most of his stuff on Twitter. He did Joseph Goebbels' tombstone, but it was done in the Google logo.
By the way, Nachi, I just want to say this about the potential for military action in North Korea. I think it'll be something that they expected like that. When the United States was finishing up World War II, they had a plan called Operation Downfall. And Downfall was the actual, Allied invasion of Japan. And luckily, well, not completely luckily, I guess, the atomic bombs kind of fixed that little problem. Unfortunately, definitely. I mean, I the aspect of any kind of nuclear weapons being used, but I think that the people in North Korea are going to be so brainwashed into this that this will be that kind of scenario. Like, if I remember, I was reading Wikipedia a while back, and the United States had proposed, I believe, that there was going to be, they were going up against about 35 million people, which is probably about soldier or regular military, and another 30 or 28 million were about civilian conscripts. So North Korea, this is a scenario that can be brought into play for North Korea because, they're brainwashed to believe, that their God, Emperor, Chairman is he, they have to fight to protect him because he is essentially their emperor. For all intents and purposes, he is the emperor. So, they will fight and die for him because, listen, they're so brainwashed that they believe the guy doesn't even use the bathroom. He's that perfectly calibrated. He doesn't need bodily functions. Which is probably why he's so full of shit.
I mentioned this before. There was an undercover doctor who went into North Korea. He was an eye surgeon, and people who had cataracts for 40 some odd years were blind. He went in undercover, to see how life was in North Korea. While curing all these people, he did like roughly 90 surgeries in 2 days or something. I mean, it was pretty remarkable. But the very first thing that these people wanted to see when they got their sight back wasn't their grandkids or their child. They wanted to see the picture of the supreme leader. They wanted to. I think Kim Jong-il was still alive when this happened. But the very first thing that they wanted to see was the photo. I mean, I don't know if that was because there were cameras present, but that's just how brainwashed these people are.
No, and I think also. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No. You go ahead, Nachi.
No, I was going to say, and that's where I don't want to blame the victim, so to speak, because I do see that what's going on in North Korea. It's a nation held hostage, and so you don't want to blame the victims. I would not be surprised if that's just fucking total fear. That is fear. They know if they do not, bow down. I mean, it's not just one person who goes to the concentration camps. It's the fucking whole family. And again, if all of those documentaries are true and all that there is out there on North Korea, which I can't imagine they're all bullshit. It's not. I mean, especially what happened with that reporter Lisa Ling, if I'm saying her name right, that she used to work for National Geographic. Her sister was the one that was captured.
Yeah.
And Bill Clinton had to go and fucking negotiate this. I think it's pretty safe to say that it's not all that exaggerated what's going on with it. Maybe some of the stories about some of the executions, but it is true that Kim Jong-il has had his uncle killed, has had his brother killed, his girlfriend. It's just the way they operate, and I think it's abject fear. And I remember seeing that in the documentary, and I think it was with Lisa Ling. I think she covered it, at least, or someone had covered it, and they showed these people when they finally had their sight back. And
so you saw it.
They did not even acknowledge the doctor at all. You know, they didn't acknowledge him at all. And then the other interesting thing for me, I remember thinking this would almost be the same as just, you know, like really die-hard religious people giving all that thanks to God or Jesus or Allah, you know, without looking at the wonder that is humanity. And that's the hope that I at least have. I mean, with all this fucking horror show going on.
I mean, just going based on what we know with North Korea, you know, Korean Porky Pig, you know, his fighting strategy would be to throw enough people at the bullets and hope that they run out of bullets. Yeah, you know, like the whole Stalin tactic. You know, you send people with empty guns running toward the lines in hopes that they run out of bullets.
Yeah, no, and none of them care. None of them care, and they don't care to the point of like their own children. They'll sacrifice their own kids over this shit.
And this is why they're different than Cuba in terms of, you know, their devotion, because and the reason I say this is because I think the Cubans are, you know, capitalism has, you know, I'll put on my Russian hat. Capitalism has softened you very much, you know, as they say, you know, it's made them, you know, they'll think about it and they'll be like, listen, I got, you know, Ramon's over in, sorry for saying that, but Ramon is over in Florida. You know, maybe it's not such a bad place because he's still alive. So, you know, maybe if the American, you know, hypothetically, if the Americans invaded Cuba, I don't think there would be even a quarter of the resistance that they'll be facing in North Korea.
Well, you also have to remember, up until the early 60s, they had casinos and capitalism and cars and Hollywood and casinos. And I mean, it was like the Caribbean Las Vegas, you know, and then you know, Castro came into power. I mean, they had a taste of it. So they actually have family members who can explain how it was, you know, I mean, the North Korea doesn't have that, you know. I mean, they've always, ever since the Second World War, they've been under this communist socialism, poisonous.
They've only got old episodes of MASH.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, and the other thing, look, here's where I will admit, I can put things into context, you know. Yeah, Fidel Castro was not Kim Jong-un, you know, he was not at that level. You know what I mean?
He's still an asshole.
He wasn't that much. I mean, there's a bell curve to fucking dictators, too. Okay,
no, but I think the people of Cuba have way more fight in them than North Korea because they don't know any different. Cubans knew different.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure that plays into it as well. I no doubt about it. That does play into it. But I think it's also I would love to see if somebody has done like a really good book on dictators and the different almost approaches. I was about to say styles, the different approaches. Hey, what's up, Chase?
Hey, what's up?
Nice to meet you, man. The different approaches of dictators and how they operate, how they go about it. By the way, Chase, would you mind if you're watching it separately? Can you mute that one?
Is that better?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm not getting the echo. Yeah. And and Eric, look, you see, I have no dictatorial streak in me. Like I feel even bad asking people to do shit like this. I was gonna ask Eric if you wouldn't mind maybe turning off your camera, and that way you can have your little icon. And that way the little icons can come back and forth as we talk. But it just, you know, if not, there you go. Cool. So then, again, I don't have that in me. I don't like telling people what the fuck to do. And it's funny because I always get that from a lot of people with like, whenever I do my atheist videos and shit like that, like, hey man, why are you trying to tell people what to do? I'm not trying to tell people what the fuck to do. I'm just trying to debunk shit. I'm trying to like prove these things are false. There's no need to follow them, and there's a lot of things that we can't say with certainty. You know?
Well, I wish we lived in an anarcho-capitalist society.
Explain to me anarcho-capitalism. Anarcho-communism sounds ridiculous because there's no way you can have communism without a totalitarian government. It may be a benevolent totalitarian government, maybe, but you have to have.
There's nothing benevolent about totalitarianism.
of course.
There's
Now, anarcho-capitalism. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, I'll let you go first.
No,
Go ahead. James, explain what's anarcho-capitalism. By the way, I keep hearing
Anarcho-capitalism is free market, limited government. Just free market or capitalism instead of communism. It's like reverse communism in a way, if that makes sense.
No. I mean, I pretty much get the gist. Anarcho-capitalism, in other words, that there would almost be no need for government, and we'd have like a free market economy. Government, in terms of government, no government or as minimal as possible, and as much free market as possible. But the thing is, the reality of many people, which I don't want to just go with human nature, because a lot of people always say, "Oh, human nature." I don't think it's just that. I mean, I just think that there's a lot of people who are just, let's be a little more accurate than just saying assholes, psychopaths, sociopaths. And there is a difference between psychopaths and sociopaths. There are people who just don't give a fuck, and they'll step on whoever, and you will always need some form of regulation. I mean, I think even among
one of those people that get stepped on because I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah. And that's something that you have to factor in. That's why I don't even know if I go by being a libertarian anymore, because whenever I've gone to like libertarian meetings and stuff like that, a lot of the things they talk about, they're almost just platitudes, and they're almost as idealistic as the regressive left and the communists. It's an expectation of running society in a way that I don't think it's definitely not going to happen in our lifetime.
See, the biggest problem I see with the political sides is that us, society, the populace, it's constantly shifting, and there's an ebb and flow. And what happens is you get locked into this platform, you get locked into this ideology. Okay, say evangelical right and the far extreme left. You get locked into these platforms, and a society doesn't adjust to you. The platforms have to adjust to society, and that's where the problems have come in. You've gone we've seen too far an extreme swings shift to the left because of the 80s and 90s extreme shift to the right. I mean, it's trying to balance itself out, but it can't, because the platforms themselves need to adjust. We don't like this fight now for unions and stuff. Unions were great when we needed them. Right now, they don't serve a purpose other than to corrupt and to twist the arms of certain sects of professionalism just to get a vote.
Yeah. We do need better unions. I think you go first.
No, I was going to say, because I think I heard you say we need better unions.
Oh, no. What I said was we don't need when we needed unions.
No, I thought that Chase had said that. That's why.
Oh.
And you said that we need better unions. I think a better union would be less union and like a minimalistic union only when you.
I think we need to have a libertarian approach in terms of union management. I think there needs to be as little union as possible, and less involvement from the leadership. Because I mean, where I live, if you're a union boss, you are making some seriously good money. And all you have to do is to occasionally go out on TV and go onto the one news station in the province and then shake your finger angrily at the government. And then congratulations, you've got another so many years in as president of, I don't know, NAPE or NLTA or some other union. And now listen, I can't say that I hate unions. My father was in one for a couple of years before he moved up to management, and then he became, the capitalist enemy of all workers. But it's where I'm to. It's hell on earth, and actually, come this monopolistic.
Why I said we need better unions is because professional wrestling needs better unions, because Vince McMahon and all the other wrestling companies are not paying their wrestlers enough.
Yeah, and that's where it does get tricky, man. And those are some of the things that they're breaking my libertarian paradigms. Like the more I think about it, especially with healthcare and stuff, that's the tricky thing. And I think that's probably the thing that's going to be the most difficult thing to tread around.
Nachi.
When you have a private company, oh no, if I could just finish off this point. When you have a private company like me, like let's say I was lucky enough to get, well, what I always wanted, my fucking company homegrown off the ground. Right? Let's say this company finally, this pipe dream finally got off the ground. I became a fucking millionaire. I should be able to cut myself whatever fucking check I want.
Yeah.
But I cannot deny that whatever success I would get, it is true. It's not entirely me. It's number one, the customers. Thanks to the customers. But then not only the customers. One of the reasons why I've never been able to get this off the ground is because I try to do too many things by myself. And I rarely have people help me out. And that's why I can't get shit off the ground, you know? And in order to get these major companies, like the more I try to learn how to do this, the more I realize, dude, you have to bring in other people and you have to bring in other people's money. And then that's where it starts to get, like, is there a formula? Is there a formula? Like, for example, when Ben and Jerry's actually still owned it before it got bought out by Unilever, I remember there was a 2020 special on them and on how they actually structured their pay, and that the CEO could never get a raise unless everybody else was getting a raise. And even when that CEO would get a raise, it could never be, I think the formula was like 7 times more than, let's say, the lowest, you know, I don't want to say the word lowest, but whatever, the person earning the least amount of money in the company, be it the janitor or whatever. The CEO couldn't give himself that raise unless everybody else got it. But then to impose that onto
they're still following a meritocratic. They're still following a meritocratic process formula. When you remove the meritocracy, that's when things go upside down.
Oh, for sure. I agree. And then that's exactly what happened now with Google, with this guy. I'm still trying to remember his name.
Gamore or something like that. Or
right. Let me see, because I think.
But then I realized he was a U.S. congressman.
Wasn't he like that guy who wrote that manifesto?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, which manifesto are you talking or referring
to? The Google one.
Oh, the Google, yeah, I guess he wrote it as a manifesto. Here's one thing I do find interesting. The guy's already on Stephen Mullen. So I don't know if which is good.
He went to Jordan Peterson first. And that has to be a big deal if Jordan Peterson's going to interview you on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I wonder if he's kind of, I would say, one of us, you know, like one of us, like fucking, yeah, I don't know, whatever category we would give ourselves.
Centrist.
Yeah,
I would just say red pilled. We are red pilled. It doesn't mean we're conservatives. Doesn't mean we're Republicans. Doesn't mean we're libertarians. It just means we prefer facts and truth over feels and virtue signaling.
Oh God, we should all move Newfoundland because we need to be red pilled so badly. This is why I'm a red. This is why I'm pretty much, I don't know what you'd call it in the States, but in Canada I'm a red Tory, which is like the happy medium. It's similar to a centrist, but I don't like spending money. I'm as cheap as humanly possible.
Georgia, so we're pretty much all red pilled, basically.
Where is it? You said you lived. If you don't mind, well, you said it, so I guess you don't mind saying where's the general area?
Atlanta.
Oh. Okay.
Georgia, Carter's Drive.
Yeah, I think at most of Georgia overall, they're pretty conservative.
Yeah, most of Georgia is Republican, and there's if you live in Georgia, you might know Derek Grayson or heard of him. He has a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. Check it out. He's actually pretty good.
Let me see if I look him up after.
We're all pretty gay too.
You're all pretty gay, you said?
Yep. Gay and conservative.
All right. And that's, look, another one of these days, I'd like to be able to do a video on right, and much less in the referring to the rights, but correct. How to be correct on most issues. And I think that's part of the problem. And I think that's why we can't realize that we all have a lot more in common than not. And that's something that a lot of people are starting to realize, and somebody commented on the side chat as well, about people tend to forget how much we do have in common. And I think, like, for example, if we could have like a definitive list of at least the major issues that we're constantly battling over and realize, look, this is what is correct, this is what is not correct, or in other words, this is what works and what is true and factual, and this is what doesn't work and what is not factual. And look, the religion one, I'm willing to fucking, all right, fine. People want to believe in God even though it doesn't exist, whatever. But I'm not going to fucking fight that one too much.
And Nachi, thank you for respecting my beliefs. As you know, I'm not an arsehole about it. But
and I don't feel about it either. But I think it's more than the beliefs. I'm starting to respect. It's a psychology for a lot of people. It's the way people deal with reality. And look, just not to get too segued, the other day there's this guy at my gym whose wife died of cancer, and his wife was young, 42 years old, man. He's got a 2-year-old kid. And the guy's very religious. And I shut my fucking mouth while that guy was talking to me about, man, the day I meet God, I'm just gonna ask him why, man. Why'd you do this? And I was just like, and there I know when to shut the fuck up about atheism. I was just like, all I did there is just pat the guy on the back and be like, bro, I'm so, what do you say?
And see, the difference between you and somebody who wouldn't be able to shut their mouth is you understand you're settled and you're absolute in those views. Whereas somebody from the left would have to intrude and have to like push because they don't see eye to eye. You have to see it my way or you're wrong. And that's why, you know, like when people are resolute and comfortable with where they're at as an individual, mentally, physically, you know, whatever, that shows the ability to have cohesion and sense, you know, like in your surroundings, to your neighbor, in your community, you know, and knowing just like not when to cross the line, or knowing that's something that I see more on the right and in the center than you do on the extreme left. I mean, they just can't take no for an answer, or they just can't handle something that isn't of their own beliefs.
Well,
No, go ahead.
I actually had this Twitter debate a few days ago with this. I don't really know what they are as a person, is, you know, gender wise, but they were complaining a while back about tuition fees in this area were going up, and they said there's nothing feminist about raising tuition fees on low income and vulnerable students. And so me, just, you know, being a nice guy, I was like, well, maybe considering studying at a cheaper college. I mean, you know, you don't need to go to university. You can get a trade or something like that. And all of a sudden, the guy turns on me, and he's just he's like, you know, you think the university is for the rich and college is for the poor. I'm middle class and I went to college. And he long stop, he starts freaking out. And this is the part that bothered me, is what he said. Economics shows that we need skilled workers to meet labor demand, and that student debt is bad for the economy. And I just said, well, you want to take that burden for some and spread it out amongst everybody. Which is essentially what free education does. You know, it takes the burden off some and gives it to everyone, because, you know, we have to pay for it. And he just literally goes, exactly, thank you for believing me, pretty much. And and I just looked at him. I was just like, he's like, you don't care about poor people. I don't want poor people and pensioners to pay higher taxes and higher fees for goods and services. I care. And then I got blocked.
Yeah, no, it's that, to see that major psychological disconnect, you know, with some people. That's why when I was saying about religion, that one I'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll let that one slide. Hey, what's up, mad woman?
Hey.
What was gonna say? But one that I thought, hello, one that I actually do feel pretty strongly of, because this is just true, it's factual, it's what works, is when it comes to socialism, that it doesn't fucking work. I wish people understood basic economics and why we need property rights why we need a free market. That was
There are 120 million graves that prove you're right.
And that's the problem. That
the problem is the people now that are pushing socialism are basically exhibiting the definition of insanity.
What's that guy's name on the shirt?
What? Which one?
The guy on the shirt. What's his name? He's a communist.
Oh wait, you're talking about?
Oh, Che Guevara.
What did he do?
Fucking executed people. Fucking the firing squads at like Alanya prison. Hey, I can go on and on.
Put gays in camps.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, so I might be in trouble. If,
you actually?
Yeah.
Look, and that's where I'm trying to, I've learned to just, fuck it. And I'm assuming if you have one of those shirts,
I don't like that guy.
Yeah. No, and here's the thing. There's so much information that people just don't have. There was a time that I was almost led to believe that this guy was a good guy, especially when they came out with the Motorcycle Diaries, the movie.
Oh, God.
Dragging me over there. I have that kind of anger with people who think they could fucking lecture me on what my family went through.
Did you see Benicio del Toro did a movie about him a while back?
No, and that was the second part. That was like when he was an adult.
Oh, and he was, and if it was me, I'll tell you what really caused Che Guevara to go down this way. His dad didn't make him cut his damn hair. That's what my that's what my one of my cousins said. He's like Che Guevara. He's like there's no discipline. Can you see a man with a mustache and a hair and a set of hair like that? He's like he just if Che Guevara was in Newfoundland, he would have gotten the lacing every single day. Like his father would have just put him on his knee and just tanned his hide every day, and then we probably wouldn't have had all this terrorism. But I'm sorry for trying to be funny. I'm not very good at it, Nachi.
So what are you saying? Fucking everybody.
You want to know what really did it? He didn't eat bacon. He didn't eat enough. He didn't eat enough bacon. That's what did it.
That's probably make a joke about fucking Islam there, but maybe I'll just.
He looks, to be honest, he looks like one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think I have the same problem Nachi does. My parents came from Cuba, so when I hop into conversations where people are sitting there saying how great Fidel is, and I'm sitting there listing the ways that he's not, they're like, "Well, are you from there?" I said, "No, but my whole family is," and they told me all about it, and they shut up.
Well, my ex nearly got her father nearly got blown up by a communist rebel group in Peru because he wouldn't sell his house to Abimael Guzman. So Guzman decided to give him a nice little car bomb one day, and then my father-in-law at the time decided, yeah, it's time to go. And I actually went to a socialist route, in Lima, and when I was there visiting, and there was this woman handing out these flyers, and right across the road there was these idiots, is all I can describe them as, with big Che Guevara banners. And the revolution must carry on. I think I told you about that rally I seen, Nachi. Like it was down in Plaza Mayor or Plaza San Martin in Lima, and they came up and she gave me this piece of paper, and on it was just we must destroy capitalism and establish the proletariat paradise and things like that. And I'm just reading this, and I'm just like, are you serious? And I speak pretty decent Spanish, so I let it I literally looked at the paper, looked at her, and she's smiling at me. She's like, "Comrade." I was just like, oh, yes. I spit on the paper, tore it up, and then nearly got into a fist fight with a very burly communist before a riot policeman came up and stopped it, which I probably would have fought them because I despise communism. But the policeman later on said, he's like, "Don't worry." He's like, "We'll crack a few skulls." I was like, "Great. Thanks, man."
The only good thing about Cuba is Cuban Jitsu. That's literally the only good thing about it.
Maybe, perhaps. I never heard of that one, but what was I gonna say? You got bigger balls than I do, though, Ernest. Because I've learned with those things, like especially if I were to ever go and when I went to a Trump rally last year,
Ooh, brave.
I learned real quick, man. Unless you want the fight, unless you want the fucking hassle, and you're willing to risk your ass going to jail, I've learned it's better to just be a spectator in the heat of those things. You know.
I just
Yeah.
got so heated up though, man. I couldn't help it. It's just I've never done. I was never suffered under these systems. I admit that. But from what I've seen, from what I've heard, it makes me physically angry to have someone go on about this virtuous. I usually don't swear, Nachi, as you know, but I mean, it just makes me that angry. And lately, there's a lot of these young socialists, and they're running around and proclaiming how wonderful it is. And then I just look at them, and and recently, as you know, Nachi, I keep talking about Venezuela a lot lately, and that's something that's important to me.
Yeah.
And people are just like, "Oh, Venezuela is not socialist," and I'll stare at them. I'll be like, "Well, what are you talking about? It's in the name of their political party, the PSUV, Partido Socialista United Venezuela." I'm too tired for Spanish, but
They're in a dictatorship now. The new Fidel Castro.
Yep, pretty much. I used to work for Party City many, many, many moons ago, and there was one Halloween where we were setting up the masks, and I took out of the box 4 Che Guevara masks, and I'm looking at these things, and I'm like, please tell me we're not selling these in the Party City in Miami.
oh, that.
Oh,
would
yeah,
have
we
been-
are.
Whoa.
Oh,
No problem. Sure enough, the next morning in the news, Cubans protest Party City over Che Guevara masks. I'm like, I saw this coming.
Hey, Nachi, do you remember
I
about
saw this coming.
3 months ago, you did a video about Rage Against the Machine and how, they were bringing, like socialism and the Che Guevara shirts and stuff, up in the mid 90s. If you look at the people who are involved, the suits now, the people who are sitting at the head of these corporations and nonprofits and rallies and these protests, these are the people who had the Rage Against the Machine cassettes in their ears at that time as teenagers, and all that stuff that was pushed onto them, in the popular culture, is now coming to fruition in their political on their political canvas, so to speak.
No, for sure. And I'm still a Rage Against the Machine fan. I think the music, I try to fucking just tune out what he's saying. And even then, the way he sings and screams is fucking amazing. I still fucking love their music. But it's funny, like back then I had no clue.
Rage Against the Machine is the 90s versions of One Direction. Back then, they were the One Direction mixed with the Backstreet Boys.
I think we're probably talking about different bands. I don't think you're Rage Against the Machine. I wouldn't compare them to One Direction and shit. But the music was fucking great, and I had no clue what these guys were fucking talking about at all. And I think that's the other major problem. It's just so many of these things are not taught. And like I said, I saw the first Che Guevara Motorcycle Diaries movie, and I thought, oh wow, he seems like a pretty cool guy. Then I spoke to my family, and that's when my family really sat me down, because I always heard that Cash was, blah, blah, blah. And I just tuned that out. When they really sat me down as an adult and they told me, dude, let me tell you why we're fucking here. By the time the Benicio del Toro movie came out, I was so fuming when I saw it on fucking Netflix. I was like, at the time I was, doing articles for a Metro newspaper and shit, and I was going to cover the movie. Dude, not once did they mention anything about La Cabaña prison and all the fucking executions this guy fucking oversaw.
Our teacher showed the movie, but he mentioned the prisons, and he said he was a bad guy, that the movie should have been historically accurate.
From what I remember in the movie, they did not. They sure as shit didn't show him fucking signing off orders and then denying people. How do you call it? Pardoning people or anything like that. They did not show. I mean, barely did.
It's being repeated in Venezuela now because they're getting ready for the executions. From what I've heard, I can't confirm it like officially, but I've got a few friends down there who are telling me they're rounding up people and they're going to disappear. They're not coming back. And
From what I've seen on all the news wires and stuff that come across me, because I try and do a little news show Monday through Friday on my channel, I live stream it. Yeah, he already says that anybody that opposes him, they are going to be, rounded up and they are going to be arrested and probably, and this is me speculating, tried in a kangaroo court and executed.
I pray that they survive.
Well, he's not going to.
I'm going to check out your channel right now. Is that the Mad Woman Muses? That's your channel?
Mm-hmm.
Let me check it out real quick.
Well,
I think I've stumbled now before.
I'm trying to raise some cash to get some people the heck out of there. One of them happens to be my girlfriend, but still, I really got to get some people out of there because they can't keep up with this stuff. It's ridiculous. And here's the sad thing. The Canadian government has not really done anything to address it. I've actually emailed the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and
that's because Trudeau is the son of is the bastard kid of Castro.
Oh God, I've heard that. Actually, Fidel Castro went sledding in Newfoundland. There's a picture of him going sledding in a place called Gander, and our premier went to Cuba to try to meet him because our first premier was a massive socialist. And there's actually a documentary called Waiting for Fidel where he sat in the airport and Fidel never showed up. But asshole. But
Trudeau is dating his teacher.
No, that's Emmanuel Macron. That's a really messed up situation that I don't even. That's American Pie style presidency there.
Come to America.
Yeah. But yeah, I will say this about this is that at first I wasn't too scared of Maduro because he looked like a slightly overweight Neil deGrasse Tyson, but with about half the, well, not even half the intelligence, a quarter, because I mean the man didn't even graduate high school, for God's sakes. Yeah, now he's starting to really scare me because he's literally like Marie Antoinette. It's pretty much feed them bread, and he's dancing salsa while people are getting shot at.
His brain was the size of a quarter, basically.
Pretty much.
Like a quarter.
Yeah,
his brain, yeah.
And the sad thing is that it's the people right behind him. He is clearly a puppet. That fucking powers that.
Yeah, but that's just the way things are going. We won't sanction him. Nobody's really doing much. The Brazilians and the Colombians could do something. I mean, they are the leading members of the OAS, but nobody's really doing anything.
I know Argentina just dropped a bucket full of sanctions on them too, and it's actually hurting Argentina as well because they're in a economic downturn along with the entire area. And
Bolivia won't do anything though.
I think Chile did too. I think Chile.
Peru did. Peru withdrew its ambassador. Kaczynski just said, President Kaczynski was just like, yeah, we're done, we're out, and he pulled out. Colombia is considering sanctions. But Colombia can't really take too much action because the FARC is still in the process of disarming, and they're pretty opportunistic little bastards. So it's hard to see how that will go. But I'm really starting to think that military intervention in Venezuela may have to be an option because the people can't arm themselves. You cannot. It's too difficult to even get a hunting rifle in Venezuela, let alone an assault rifle. And unless you're a part of the
out there, he'll protect them. He's America.
All right.
John Cena.
Oh boy.
Anyway, so what I was going to say though, I'm glad you were bringing that up about the military intervention because to bring it back to North Korea.
Yes.
Wait, how? Okay, how do I frame this? Who thinks this is really? Or let me frame it this way. How do you guys think it's going to play out with North Korea? Do you think it's just going to be the same fucking shit that's happening with all the other presidents? Where
no, we've got to do something, Nachi. This time listen. Obama was limp-wristed on this. He dropped the ball, and I hate. Listen, I don't like military action, but there's two places I will say that I wholeheartedly support military intervention: Venezuela and North Korea. We've got to, and especially North Korea. Listen, he is developing these weapons. The Japanese and the American defense analysts have said, yeah, he's got the capability now. He can hit the, Western.
To be honest, I don't think he'll take out North Korea until his second election. After his second election, then North Korea is wiped out. Guarantee.
Well, see, the whole thing is when he started test firing these missiles, we took THAAD and put it in South Korea, which got China and Russia's attention, because they didn't want THAAD there because that's a missile defense. Okay? And Kim Jong-un kept firing his missiles. The closest he's come, because he shoots them straight in the air in an arc. The last test fire happened after midnight his time and actually landed in the Japan Economic Zone, which is the zone that circles the entire Japanese island.
Yep.
Scientists took the arc and the speed in which the last missile traveled and said if he were to actually aim it in a lower and longer arc, it could actually reach Alaska.
Yeah, to be honest, I think he's more likely to blow up himself before he blows up America.
No, well, I think that's the psychology behind these people. And again, I don't want to get segued off into Cuba, but with the 1962 missile crisis, I think that's what people really need to understand. These people don't even care about their own fucking life. They just don't. And plus, the price they would have to pay to lose power. Like they are very heavily invested in staying in power. Not just
the sad part is, even when they get freedom, they'll just kill themselves, even when they get freedom, because they don't know what to do.
No, yeah, they clearly, and I don't think freedom is what they're after. I think now they almost cloak themselves with that power because they know they need it.
This is the way I see it happening. China doesn't want, say, half the population, 20 million refugees pouring over their border into their country. Russia and China doesn't want us in the area because then it just complicates what they're trying to do, and it makes them think we're spying on them. There's going to have to be a unilateral attack with China, Japan, Russia, and the U.S. You take out what they're aiming at South Korea, so nobody in the South gets hurt, and then you hit their armaments so they can't fire anything. Not blowing up the palace or nothing, just so they say, hey, we're serious about this. Get your ass to the table.
It's essentially the Boxer Rebellion all over again. You need a large coalition to handle this. Now, I don't think, though, that China is going to let capitalism waltz up to its door, though, because North Korea is a convenient buffer state. That's essentially what North Korea is, and that's
North Korea. China has an investment in North Korea.
Yeah,
China does. Yes, China has, in the past, when people have levied sanctions against North Korea, China has actually helped North Korea circumvent those sanctions. The problem is, now that Kim Jong-un is posturing stronger and he's doing these missile tests and he literally has the capability of launching these missiles as far as Alaska and maybe even further inland into the United States, China has a decision to make. Either continue being an ally and helping North Korea circumvent the new sanctions that are not only from the UN but the US, or say take a step back, take a look at Kim and say, if you keep doing this, we cannot support you. You're causing a major problem in this area.
What they'll do, though, is they will cut off the coal supply, and that's the only thing that's what North Korea relies on to make any money.
Coal before it turns off. They're going to run out.
The sanctions are supposed to stop coal, lead, and iron, and the ores of lead and iron as well, which is effectively going to cut off a third of their income.
Yeah, I don't think the Chinese are going to go without that, though. I honestly believe that we can't trust the Chinese in this instance.
The Chinese are not to be trusted in this instance at all.
I'd say we're more likely to trust the Russians than we are the Chinese.
We've already formed a tentative relationship at best with Russia because we have a sanction on Russia because of Putin backing Assad in Syria.
I hate communism, but I love Putin. He's a good leader. He's a good leader.
What?
Is that a WWE dude? Is that What I'm going to say is there's a great article that I read the other day in the New York Post by this guy, Ralph Peters. I used to follow that guy. And it's called Why China Wants North Korea to be a Nuclear Threat. And the gist of it is basically China uses North Korea as like this little fucking bully that does all the dirty work for them. And if this were to happen, and we see, I think he sums it up pretty good in one paragraph, it's almost like China would be able to really weaken our military without having to fire a single shot through North Korea. And that's the other thing. It goes to show China does not give a fuck if North Korea gets completely wiped out.
Now,
right
I
now,
want to see the kids.
the article.
I want to see the kids and women.
Yeah, they don't care.
But not
that does not matter.
I'll say one other thing, and then I'm dropping off because I got work in the morning. But
Yeah.
and this has been great, by the way. Thanks for having me on. The other problem here is this: if the U.S. gets wrangled into a war that could potentially involve China, and we cannot rule out the possibility that it will, because of their close connection, and they've been allies ever since the Korean War. So we have to still take that into account, that they're still China's little brother in a sense. Now,
Sure.
the problem is this: the U.S. Army goes in, fights North Koreans, wins. The Chinese get involved. For starters, the U.S. Army's been fighting a war, been involved in multiple wars since 2001. The Army is tired. They have a lot of soldiers coming out. They're tired out. They're wore out from years and years and years of campaigning. They have rampant in the United States military and those getting out. Do you know who does not have the PTSD issues and fresh troops? The People's Republic of China. Their soldiers haven't been embroiled in wars for the last so many years. Their morale is sky high. They don't have to see their comrades and fellow soldiers in hospitals with limbs gone off. They don't have all of these other issues. They're fresh. They're ready to fight. And by God, they've got one hell of an army. We can pretend that America is still number one, but China can still give them a good lacing. And especially if you toss in, the immense size of their military alone.
How is that possible to not get PTSD?
They haven't had any wars. They haven't had any wars in decades. They've had a few border skirmishes, but that's about it. But for all intents and purposes, their army is fresh and very ready to fight. The United States is tired out. I mean, they've just been jumping around fighting nonstop. I hate to admit it, but Uncle Sam is worn out.
We could team up with both of those and take out China. We could do that.
I don't think the Australians are enough to save us.
But the French would.
The Australians are neck deep in feminism right now, and toxic feminism.
But they have beautiful women. Can't they just distract them?
Hey, by the way, Mad Woman, what was that little thing that you were popping up? I saw this little thing you had popped up. You were.
Well, I have an Associated Press app that gives me the wire news, and what I do in the morning is I take out all the stuff I consider leaning one way or the other. And what it read from an excerpt of the latest news that they've released is, in a statement carried by state media, General Kim Rock-Guillaume, who heads North Korea's rocket command, also said his country was about to take military action near the U.S. Pacific territory of Guam. He said the North would finalize a plan by mid-August to fire 4 mid-range missiles hitting waters 30 to 40 kilometers away from the island, which is 19 to 25 miles. The plan will then go to the commander-in-chief of North Korea's nuclear force and wait for his order. Kim was quoted by KCNA as saying he called it a historic enveloping fire at Guam. Their sights are targeted on our U.S. territory.
No, yeah, and I had read that yesterday. That's what I think it was yesterday or definitely today, which already started worrying me. When they started already putting Guam as a target, I'm like, I don't remember from all the other times that they've threatened, at least since I've been keeping track with George Bush Jr. Wow, it looks like this time around, and then hearing enough military analysts and even these dovish, you know, generals and journalists that are pretty much like leaning towards, dude, we're gonna need to
What's going to happen? The little North Korean fat bastard's going to get a little too rambunctious.
Yeah,
he's going to fire a missile over a landmass, and that's going to be the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, Guam we still have Anderson Air Force bases there. Not only do we have bombers that can reach Korea with heavy ordnance, we still have a whole squadron of submarines there that are ready for deployment. Not to mention a Coast Guard unit there as well. So we're not lightly stationed there on the territory.
Yeah,
and we're close enough to retaliate.
Yeah,
but can we stop a nuke from landing in there? You know, that's a hit and miss. I mean, the missile defense systems are honestly a hit and miss kind of a thing. And either way, you blow up a nuke, it's still going to cause some sort of damage, either environmentally. Well, we shouldn't be even really giving a shit about that right now. That's not exactly the last thought on my mind, saving the dolphins. But
if it's disposed of in the atmosphere, you know, high enough up into the the different layers of the jet stream, it should pose minimal, if nothing. If it's destroyed closer to ground level, you know, 8,000 feet or below, then it's an issue for the environment.
Yeah, it's kind of a Bikini Atoll kind of thing all over the place. But I don't know what's going to happen, but if you want my prediction, I'm going to predict a war within about 6 months.
If it's destroyed closer to ground level, you know, 8,000 feet or below, then it's an issue for the environment. Yeah, it's kind of a Bikini Atoll kind of thing all over the place. But
I'm confused.
I crashed.
Chase, could you mute your video there?
Yeah, I closed it.
Okay, cool. No, it was starting to come in.
I crashed. I'm sorry.
No, man, that's cool, dude. Don't worry, man. Thanks for jumping in. I gotta pretty much be cutting this short too, because now that I actually have a fucking job to go to.
I will come back on here. I will come back here often. I love these streams.
Oh, thanks, bro. Thanks, man.
I made new friends.
Yeah, cool, man.
Okay.
And,
well,
what was I gonna say? So you guys actually think, just a really quick consensus, you actually think this might actually take military action?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to if he keeps going.
You know what? I'm 50-50 on the fence with this. If something he fires goes over a landmass, then yes. If he's firing into blank areas and whatever, I still think there's a chance that we can resolve this without any artillery being fired. But if he fires something and it goes over a populated area, it's over. It's all she wrote.
I'll propose a new hashtag for this. I call it "Cuck the Kim."
Yeah.
But actually, a friend of mine made up some kind
Kims.
of. Well, yeah, but anyway, I am off. So from Newfoundland, have a good night, everyone. Nice talking to y'all.
Take it easy, buddy.
See you. I'll talk to you guys again. My new friend.
Thanks for jumping on, man. So I think we're gonna conclude this. Hey, Mad Woman, that was nice to meet you. I subbed already to your channel. So
thank you, and thank you for inviting me on. I had somebody tell me about you, and I've seen a couple of your videos and stuff, but I saw you were live streaming and figured, let me check this out, live.
All right. No, thanks for contributing. Yeah, you had some. You sounded like you definitely have been following this. Thanks for the contribution.
How did I do?
Yeah, you did good, man. Don't worry, dude. You fucking did great. The WWE jokes were charming.
I'll come here again, and I'll have plenty more.
Thank you, brother. And so I think with that, dude, I'm gonna have to cut it short now at this point. And
hey, Nachi, good luck with the job. It's been a pleasure. I'll catch you next time.
Good luck.
Thank you, man. All right, dude. So thanks again. This concludes another Nachi Free Wednesday night live stream. I don't think we're gonna have to worry about World War III. And thanks for watching. See ya. I'm gonna end the broadcast right now.